Okay, so I just made a deal with a local that has 2 Layens hives. So now that I'm buying these, I'm gonna head over and check them out and see how they're doing, make sure that everything is good. So we're gonna open them up. In the end, I'll probably move them up to a larger acreage, but for now, I've been seeing them on the outside without opening up the hive, and they're pretty active and there's lots of movement. So I bet we'll get a good harvest out of this season. So that's kind of cool because our hive actually this year didn't catch anything because I made the mistake when we left. I only had 1 hive trap up in a tree. Just tossed it up there as fast as I could before we hit the road early spring, and I was in such a hurry I left the door closed, and so all year long we're on the road and there's no way for me to catch a swarm, and I had no idea. So when I got back, there was no swarm, there was no bees in the hive itself, and so I just got this empty hive sitting there, and so I was looking for some bees. They happen to have some bees, so it's all working out pretty well, but we got to go check them out and make sure everything's square. So stay tuned. Okay, just pulled up to the hives. Here they are. Super active. Looking good. These are all built by the local initiative workshops, which is super cool. A bunch of people come together to support one another very selflessly and develop these hive boxes and hive traps. So super exciting to see that these not only were developed with the initiative, but also currently have bees in them. So it's hope for the initiative. It's super cool. So let's open this up and see what they look like. Super excited today. I actually went ahead and bought these 2 beehives from a local. The boxes belong to initiative, but the hive itself, the colony inside, belonged to the owner. And we're going to separate the 2 over time. To this season, they'll probably stay in those boxes, but I want to show you what they look like now. We're just going to do a quick peek. I'm not going to suit up or anything. If I get stung, I'll show you how to get plantain to soothe that sting. But let's start with this, and we'll get the smoker ready, and I'll walk you through that process. So we're just going to find the dry leaves. So a smoker is literally just you're looking for smoke. You're not trying to get a whole bunch of fire going in this thing. You just need it to smoke. And so you can get a pretty good rolling smoke with leaves, and this hay stuff like this is perfect. Burlap works really good if you use burlap, and you can start it with some cardboard. They've even got some cardboard here, so that worked out pretty good. There we go. That's what we're looking for. So now we're smoking. Don't smoke, it's bad for you. The Layens hives are cool because usually you can just pull the top off and they're not gonna be up under the lid. And I don't have a hive tool, so I'm also hoping I can do this by hand because I just kind of showed up and walked back here. Oh yeah, they're not even extended. He doesn't even have all the frames in here. That's not good. So you can see there's some hive beetles. This plastic tray here was actually his feed. You got to keep pumping your smoke every so often while you're doing this. Just FYI, or you'll lose the flame and have to relight it like I think I just did. Okay, well. I can tell before I even touch it, they haven't even filled out this last frame. That's a pretty solid indicator that we don't really need to give them another one. However, I am going to remove, if I can get it open, I'm going to remove the the feeder. There we go. Okay, so our goal is just to make sure that they're okay. They haven't even built out the last frame, so I'm not even gonna pull them out. I know that they're still working on it, so I'm gonna give them one frame in place of the feeder and just let them know they have some extra space in here. And then we'll go ahead and put the divider back where it was. And then we're gonna take this out because it's got bees all over it. So I'm just gonna set it down in the front. Work on that as they need to. So he must have caught them here, took out the 6 frames that were in there, just put the 6 frames in there, and then I don't know why he gave them the feeder, and then left it like that. So unless he caught these really late into the season, this isn't what I would have expected. They should have probably filled out the whole 3/4 of the box by now. We're getting pretty close to harvest, and I won't even be able to harvest this. So what I'm essentially buying here is a nuke box, a starting package of bees. So that's good to know. And so not having opened it prior, I didn't know what to expect. So we'll go check on this other one here, and I'm just gonna leave these guys. If I feel the need, I might check them in a couple weeks to just find out if I need to give them another frame. But we're so close to the season that chances are they won't even touch the one I just put in. And if anything, I'm gonna have to consolidate. And so give them less room to manage during the winter. So chances are this is gonna stay exactly like that. So I'll just throw the lid back on there. And this whole time in the back of my mind while this has been open, I'm just being conscious that I've released their microclimate. I've broken the closure that they had around their kingdom and just opened up all the walls. And so now they have to re-ventilate it to reestablish that microclimate. And in the meantime, we'll check on this one over here. Looks like he was putting a feeder on this one too. He's just got an upside down can. Not sure why. Oh yeah. So these guys have the same situation going on. I'm curious why he felt the need to give them the feeder. I might ask him about that because really you don't need to do that. They had a surplus of whatever he gave them. I don't know if that was sugar, water, or honey, or what, but he basically took those frames out of the trap, put them in here, and that's that. So we'll see, but let's get this feeder out of here as well because it's empty. Oh, okay, so this frame has no wires in it, and I actually cannot take the feeder out. So they did build this one out, but they've got the frame has no wires, and so they actually went all the way to the last frame and then attached it to the wall of the feeder. So if I pull the feeder out right now, what's going to happen is it's going to rip that frame, that comb apart and cause some problems. So I'm actually going to go get those over here from the other hive, and I will add these both because they've filled out this space that they had here, and we'll just close that up to there. And I know that they're okay because I can see good honey stores in there, lots of capped honey in there, and I don't need to pull it out. So this is very unintrusive. You've noticed I didn't really do anything to the other hive. I don't really have to do anything to this one. So all we're trying to do is make sure that they're okay. The other hive did have some beetles, but it wasn't anything substantial. I wouldn't worry about that. You'll always see a little bit, but this one has none actually. I didn't see a single beetle in the top there. So that's good. All right, ready?
Yeah.
They're in there. They're digging it. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So they are active right now. This is a pretty good hive. They're active. Okay, that's pretty much all there is to it. So there's different times of year you'll do different things. This time of year, if this was all that they had filled it out and it was to the point where I know it's getting cold soon, I know the bees are gonna need warmth, I know that they don't really have a store, I'm not gonna be able to harvest anything from here because they're literally only 4 to 6 frames in these because he didn't expand them. Not exactly what I thought I was buying, but you buy sight unseen and that's what you get. As far as I can tell right now, they're both fine. I recommend you have a flat head in your truck if you don't bring your hive tool. And I'll just grab my smoker over there and we'll leave these guys be for a bit. And I'm just going to show you what your divider is doing. So this is your divider, and then here's your frames. When you take your frames out of your trap, you put them in here, you have about 6, and then you're gonna put the divider up against it. So now you have this big hollow on the other side, and you open up one door. When they fill those frames, you slide your divider over, you put in more frames, and that divider acts like the wall, basically. Eventually you'll be able to open the second door. Then when you get a full hive in here of frames, let's say this is all the way over to the end and you got all of these frames built out, you can just take the divider out, just add your last frame so you don't need it anymore. It is only serving the purpose of a temporary divider, and then it's done, it's out of there. These bees here shouldn't be at the top like they are here. This is an initiative hive that I just bought the bees on side. The box belongs to the local initiative, and this was just built in somebody's backyard, and this spacing is the issue. So what I was trying to tell you was that if there's a spacing in this side right here, the hive beetles can get past that space and move from here back here, but the bees can't get through it. And then the hive beetles can grow back here and then move back and forth and lay their larvae and basically run back here to hide. So you want to make sure they can't get through there. So that's important. The other piece of this, the divider that's important, is making sure that when you do put it in, you're not giving them too much room. They want to expand a little bit at a time. That's why I have 2 empty frames just chilling here, and then the divider there. But that's the idea. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions.
Now can I touch it?
Yes, you can touch it now. And so they're just backyard craft built with like 20 different people, and so there's a lot of inconsistencies in the lumber. So we have one of our nice, really refined hives here, and it's nothing against the party, but it's what happens when you have 20 people touching the same piece of wood on a hive. You get inconsistencies. But if you don't have good tight craftsmanship on it, the hive beetles get in between all of those pieces of wood, and they can get away from the bees basically, and they use them as places of refuge to hide. So anyway, long story short, I got an empty hive here, and I got these 2 good colonies here, but bad hives. So I'm gonna take those hives out, and those colonies out, and I'm gonna put one of them in here, and then putting a wool pillow on both sides, and then putting the lid on top of that. And then we'll get that in a nice spot for the winter. If I do that, it's a totally different process, but because you can't just move the bees, or your bees will go back to where their hive was, right? And you'll lose your colony. And so I just wanted to run you through a little bit of the process that I'm gonna be taking to move these bees. And got my little dudes running around here, so just a little casual, just family thing happening. Thought I would show you. We'll see how it goes. I'll let you know. Okay guys, just a really quick little short video here. I want to show you what we're doing. It is getting a little chilly. Everything out here has already died back. I'm way behind. I actually should have done this a few weeks ago. But what I have here in the bag is some wool pillows made of a nice canvas material that is specifically designed so that the bees don't gnaw at it and puncture a bunch of holes, so that we can get a lot of years out of this. So what we're going to do is this wool pillow is going to go inside the hives. It's going to sit in the lid, so underneath the lid but on top of the frames. And this is going to help insulate, so that when we move and condense the hive down to just a few frames in the center of this hive, and we have hollows here and we have the pillow on top, we have really nice insulation there to keep them warm and cozy throughout the winter. And they can control that microclimate on the inside of their hive. So you're gonna have your dividers on both sides and move it to the center of the hive, or just one divider and move it to the end of the hive. And then you can actually do one pillow on the top and then one pillow on the side. and that will help insulate even better on the exposed side where there's just a hollow inside the hive. So I know this is a whole bunch of talk here. Let's show you up close what I'm doing here, and we'll just walk you through the step. It's super, super simple. Now, I'm not doing this at the best time. It is a little chilly out, and ideally, when you crack the lid off of here, you want to see bees coming out of here, because that's an indicator that the outside temperature here is warm enough for them to do their thing. I see no activity here, I see no activity there, and it's just not quite to that temperature yet where they can come out. Bees take advantage of every warm day they get, and so we want to see them being active if we're going to crack this lid. However, because of my situation now and time sensitivity, I'm just going to go ahead and throw these in there, and we're going to do our best to keep them, make it quick. Pop that lid, throw it on there, put the lid back down. In like so, and then I'm going to try to get this back in without pinching the sides, because you want to make sure that there's no gap in your lid. These guys decided to get up into the upper chamber, and instead of walling it off and sealing off just their 6 frames I left them with, they actually did propolis all the way around the lid, so they were containing this whole area, which I think that's super cool, but it's not ideal, because we want them to have a minimum amount of ambient temperature to manage so they can serve as much heat as possible. So that'll be okay. With this one here, let's get up close and personal. I'll give you a look inside. We're just gonna lift the lid, slide it down like so. So we just want to make sure there's some bees in there. I don't see any, actually. That's not a great sign. Anybody home? It's cold to the touch. Hear no bees, I see no bees. Whoops, I was wrong. It's got my face a little bit too close there. All right, so what we're gonna do here, we're just gonna put the pillow in, and I'm gonna do it lengthwise this way actually, because no, we'll do it that way. I just want to make sure that that is nice and even as much as possible. I had this board in here just as a extra spacer to help with a little bit less ambient airflow, and I'm just gonna bring it back up. And this one, I'm gonna need 2 hands here, so I'm gonna turn it off, but just make sure that you don't pinch the edges. You wanna tuck this in the lid. You wanna get this lid all the way down so that it seals nicely. This is gonna help quite a bit with this particular hive, because I can tell the fact that they didn't come out like that, and a little bit of what I noticed prior to today, they are struggling a bit. So this will make a big difference for them. I might actually throw that 3rd pillow into this hive here. Let's do that before I seal it up. Sometimes you just make decisions on the fly. And I'm gonna part my divider here, slide these additional frames away, and I'm gonna put my wool pillow right here. So now they've got a nice wool insulated box on the inside, which is gonna be very handy for them. And hopefully get them through the winter. All right, now I'm just gonna go ahead and pinch up these corners. Okay, I got it all pinched up, and I noticed that lid didn't sit totally straight. So I'm just gonna come over here to this pile of stuff and throw some weight on the top of that box so that it holds it down nice. And I'll probably do the same thing over here that's really all there is to it. Keeping bees is very simple. We're in an urban environment right here. There's 2 hives, a third one that had no bees in it this year. And we're just making it very passive, very simple. I just decided, I just made my kids lunch. I just walk out here, I throw the pillows in there. It doesn't have to be a complicated thing to keep bees. So a lot of people get overwhelmed with this idea, and so I just want to make it easy and simple for you. In the off chance that something happens to these bees, which is very possible, next spring I'll go over what happened. Otherwise, we should have a very successful hot colony and making it through the winter, and they'll be buzzing all over on the nice blooms coming up in the springtime. So I won't touch these hives again for the rest of the year. So pretty cool, very simple process. How cool is this? Check this out. The bees are out! Woohoo! Yes, super excited. This guy's out too. Well, Jesus is always out, but the hive was out. Oh, where'd they go? Oh no. I hope they're still in there. I'll check them later. But these guys are nice and active. They're doing great. This one here has been a little bit more docile and dormant. They come out when the heat is good, but they come out later than these guys do. These ones, I think, just because of the angle of the hive, it warms up a little faster than they do. But for the most part, they're both well off and healthy, and it is starting to cool out down a little bit. So maybe that's why these guys went in, but. You never know. I guess we'll find out later. Bees surprise you all the time. Hey, it's nice and early. We're going to be moving the hives this morning. We got them ratcheted down and the doors are closed. I'll show you this here. We got to go at least 3 miles out in order for them to relocate. So I've just closed off the door and ratcheted it down. We got no suits or nothing, so we're going to just open them up and run when we get them out there. And we got to load them up. Now when you carry these, the direction of the frames is important. The frames run this way, and so travel needs to be this way. If you're driving this way, the frames will comb collapse inside there. So important to get them all together the right way. That also helps them stay more secure in the frame when they're butted up against the edge walls, and so your comb isn't being kind of wobbled loose, even if they didn't break loose from a hard break or something else. So we've got them secured each individually with the lids on tight, and then kind of across each other, and we took up the gap here in the middle. So just some tips on moving them. We got to go 3 miles out. It's not too hard, but keeping that door closed, because this is a very active hive in there, gonna be important. Okay, we got the 3 hives now, kind of a mini apiary going on here, and the hive trap in the tree there, kind of cool. The idea is we don't have suits, so we're gonna pop the lid open and run. It's gonna be fun. All right, not a great sign. We opened them up. These guys have not even breached the door yet, and these guys came out for a minute and then went right back inside. Now there's 2 reasons that could be. Number one is it's still pretty cold out. It's not past 50 yet. The other reason is we could have squished them between the frames, because the frames were slopping around a little bit. So we may have killed the colonies on the drive over here. So we will find out. I'll be back here in a few days to check on them.